Watch this. Well, we made it to Santorini. Hello from Sarajevo. Morning from Mostar.
Not a highlight.
Raining pretty hard. Day number 2 in Dubrovnik. All right, good morning from the lovely country of Switzerland. Good morning from the literal foothills of the Alps. Good morning from Strasbourg. Day number 2 here in Copenhagen, and we are rapidly decreasing in temperature. Kelly got herself a new scarf because it's pretty cold.
It's very warm.
The scarf is warm.
Yes, the scarf is warm. The air is absolutely not warm.
But today, I think we're just going to try to stay in Copenhagen all day. We're either going to do one of the 2 like castle or palace tours this afternoon, or if it rains, which it may at any moment. But for this morning, I think we're heading first to the last like star-shaped bannerment left in the world, or one of the last. And then we're going to see the original, I guess, Little Mermaid statue, or where the idea came from. And then we'll walk back across town and get some coffee, because by that point we'll be freezing. And then maybe do the castle or palace tour. So I think that's the agenda. Hopefully all of these things work out. But we're just walking this alley that's like in the middle of town. Copenhagen is really beautiful. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I've really enjoyed Copenhagen so far.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with how much green space and like open parks and things like that they have in Northern Europe. I think at home, all of our parks seem to get overrun or dirty, but here they seem to be a prized possession of the towns. So I think it's really nice that we have the opportunity to kind of walk through them and hang out and see some pretty nature.
Yeah, but we're going to continue walking and we should be there soon. So we just came out and saw the Little Mermaid statue, which is right there. Apparently that's where somebody saw a mermaid and came up with the idea, and now it's a famous Disney movie. The more you know. But we also walked through the 5-star fortress, and as we were walking in, we learned that's an active military base, which we could still walk in. But in terms of me putting active military base videos on the internet, I will not be doing so. But it was cool to see, and it was surprised how like relaxed they were. They were just like, yeah, just walk on through, no big deal. So we walked in one side and out the other side. I do have a picture of the gates on both sides, but yeah, so it was kind of interesting just to be able to see that. But I think we're gonna walk back and get some coffee now before touring one of the palaces. We ended up grabbing coffee at a place called The Living Room, which was truly just really cozy. It actually had really nice juice too. But we actually then went back to the hotel just to use the bathroom and change shirts. And on our way back to the hotel, we picked up 2 pastries. Cute pastry video. And now we're heading to the palace to go ahead and get the tour. We made it into Christiansbourg Palace. So this is the big one from yesterday where King Christian essentially built this, and it burned down twice. This is the 3rd iteration of the palace. And so I think that we have a palace tour of the old like royal apartments, a visit to the stables, I think a visit maybe to the kitchens, and then also perhaps the theater. So quite a bit included.
And underground too, I think.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The inside is actually fairly in-depth here. And it's probably backwards, but so we're going to go ahead and kick it off. So the palace itself was never actually used as a formal residence, but is used for a lot of foreign dignitaries and for a lot of the king or queen's like business within the nation or its parliament or with the ordinary people. So essentially what we're doing now is we're going up the red carpet and into kind of all of the different audience chambers or business rooms that they're in.
It's quite the entryway.
Yeah. So we just finished with the tour inside, which was like 16, 17 rooms. I thought it was really good. It's not like residences at all, which we kind of knew. But it's a lot of like entertainment rooms and different purposes. And it's kind of funny that it seems like of the 18 rooms that are up there, only like 4 of them were ever used or still actually used. There was a throne room where it's not even sure if the queen has ever even sat in the throne. So kind of just there for, I guess.
I think they use it for the windows to address the public outside.
Yeah, and then they had a huge, a number of like interior rooms that kind of eventually led to a giant banquet room. The rooms that led to there would be where like the king or the queen would then address all of the people and welcome them to the banquet. And then the banquet hall was very different than most that we've seen. It was very, Kelly described it as eclectic, which it really was. It had a bunch of like very interesting kind of tapestries on the walls. And then as you go past the banquet room, there was a number of rooms that kind of were back of the house, where meals would be prepped, things would be like entertainers would have a room to themselves to prepare to entertain, whether it was a singer or a band or whatever. And then I thought the dining room was funny because they built this huge, nice dining room, but the table they built to put in there is too wide, and so you can't actually talk across the table very easily. And rather than getting a new table, they're like, nah, we just won't use this room. Which I thought was funny. And now the table is set up, it's usually used for like kitchen staff that would bring food in, would prepare it in that room and then take it into the banquet room. Go ahead.
I thought the coolest part for me, at least, was the temporary exhibit that they had, which was all about like the different types of parties and galas and meetings and things that they have in the palace rooms. They had like costumes and dresses and things like that. And so it sort of just brought life to what was happening in the rooms rather than just seeing an empty room or some furniture or something. And they had like sound effects going on too, which was just a little different for a tour. And I thought the temporary exhibit, personally, I think it should be permanent.
Yeah, it was nice. And then the last couple of rooms were the Queen's library, which was really cool. And it had this like weird little like elevator in a corner that was kind of hidden behind a door that could take you up to a second level. And apparently that's also the room that the Prime Minister currently uses to house, guests. And instead of his office, which is right above it, he uses that library, and Obama has actually been in the library meeting the Prime Minister. And then the last room, do you remember what the purpose was?
No, but
Yeah, I
it was
don't either.
grand and beautiful.
It was very grand and very beautiful. It actually had a piece of stonework at the top that was from the second mansion that burned down, which was cool to see. And, I'm sure I'll run through a number of clips that I took inside. It was really hard to talk because the temporary exhibits had a bunch of screens that were talking at you. So that combined with the people talking, it was really noisy. But
and it sort of echoed.
yeah, definitely echoed, as it is right now. I'm sure it got very loud as others have joined us in this hall. But I think that we're going to try to do the kitchens really quick and the stables really quick and maybe the ruins. Our ticket is good for tomorrow too, so if we run out of time, we can come back tomorrow. We just finished touring the kitchens, the stables, and the ruins. The kitchens were cool. They had it was set up as if it were a feast that was here in the 20s, I think.
Yeah.
And so they had all of in the 20s. And so they actually had all of the copper, dishes and everything all set out as if it was that. It was actually kind of cool. And something I noticed that every single copper bakeware, cookware, everything had the insignia of the king and queen and the date 1921 on it. So it was all bought at one time, which is rather incredible.
And the pots were huge. I mean, it makes sense because there were so many people to feed, but they were massive.
Yeah. And we went to the stables, and it's cool, it's still used as an actual stable. So there were horses still inside, there were some carriages and a small museum. And then lastly, we went down to the ruins, which they're 1000 AD, when the first castle was essentially built here. And there was essentially a lot more water. So what we learned yesterday too is that a lot of the water around this particular area of Copenhagen is filled in with dirt or built on top of regardless. And so we kind of saw the origins of the first kind of castle that was built here, and then I guess 2 more iterations of Christiansbourg before the grand palace on these grounds was built, and then it burnt down, and the second one burnt down, and now we're on the third one. So really cool. I mean, it was 4 hours almost, 4 hours of touring, so definitely a lot to see. Could have probably skipped the ruins bit. But yeah, really cool. I think we might wander around just a little bit and try to figure out what we're going to do for dinner, but probably going to call the vlog here. Nothing fancy tonight. Last night was really special. So with that, good night.